My stepsister stole my dad's watch to cover her car expenses, and with my stepmom's help, they pinned it on me, so my dad accused me of being a lunatic like my mom and kicked me out when I was just 17. 4 years later, we crossed paths at Grandpa's 75th birthday party, and OMG, Dad's face went pale when Grandpa made this jaw-dropping toast. So this all started when I was 17. I'm currently 21, female. I don't want to get into all the background stuff, but let's just say my relationship with my dad was rocky at best. My stepsister, 20, female, was the golden child, and I was the one always walking on eggshells around my dad and stepmom. My stepsister always had this hatred towards me. I didn't do anything to her, but she took it upon herself to make my life miserable. On top of that, her mother supported whatever she did and would sometimes even join in on my stepsister's antics to make my life more miserable. My dad refused to go against his wife, so by default, he'd side with my stepmother and he'd punish me based on whatever lies they told him about me. Initially, I tried to fight for myself, but I quickly realized that nobody in that house actually cared for me. So I began to keep to myself and barely interacted with them. I guess that seemed to have really ticked my stepsister off because she made it her life's mission to make me as miserable as possible. One day, my dad's expensive watch went missing. It wasn't just any watch. This thing was a big deal to him. I didn't know it was gone until I came home from school to find my dad furious, my stepmom giving me cold glares, and my stepsister acting all innocent. I knew something was up, but I couldn't figure out what. Then out of nowhere, my stepmom started accusing me of taking the watch. She said I must have stolen it because I was acting strange lately and desperate for attention. My stepsister backed her up, of course, saying she saw me acting suspicious around my dad's room. And just so I can be a little clear, the only suspicious behavior of mine was about me mourning the death of my cat who I'd had since I was 3 years old. Of course, I was desperate for attention. I mean, my cat was the only thing that kept me anchored when my parents went through their divorce and I wasn't allowed to live with my mom. My behavior for desperate attention was only me breaking down into tears for a few dinners, which my dad used to insist we all do as a family. The only reason I broke down into tears was because my stepsister made it a point to joke about how the house feels so much better without my ugly creature there. My dad never tried to tell my stepsister to not be so heartless. He'd simply tell me to stop being emotional. Anyway, I was completely blindsided by what my stepmom and stepsister were blaming me for. I didn't even know the watch was missing, let alone me having to do anything to do with it. I tried to defend myself, but it was like talking to a wall. My dad was already convinced. He went off on me, saying I was just like my mom, who he always called crazy and lunatic, and that I had to leave. He kicked me out right there. I was 17. I had no plan, no place to go except to my mom's house, which I did. For the next 4 years, I didn't hear a word from my dad even when I did my best to reach out to him and clear my name. Not a text, not a call, nothing. I knew in my heart that I didn't take that watch, but they didn't care. My stepsister and stepmom had pinned it all on me, and my dad just went along with it. It hurt me a lot that he just accepted their version of the story without even trying once to cross-check with me if that was the case. I tried to move on and focus on rebuilding my life and trying not to think about how betrayed I felt. My mom, who is not very mentally stable and needs a lot of attention, pretty much consumed my life. If there was one positive outcome of the whole situation, it was that I got to spend proper time with my mom. I managed to graduate high school and then college as well, and my dad was absent from both events. It hurts a lot. But as the days went by, the pain decreased little by little. Fast forward to a few weeks ago, my grandpa was turning 75, and despite everything, I was invited to his birthday party at this farmhouse he had rented for the day. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go at first because I knew my dad, stepmom, and stepsister would be there, but grandpa and I had always been close. He was there for me when my dad kicked me out. He lived in a retirement home, so he couldn't really help me out in terms of a place to stay, but he did help me out a lot financially. He was also my best friend, and we got along like a house on fire, so I knew I couldn't miss such a big milestone for him. I decided to just suck it up and go. When I walked into the party, I immediately felt all the old tension come back.